Hey guys, welcome back to Spilling the Reality with Trisha and Kiley on the Russell Hantz Show, where we have all of the latest updates on the Big Brother live feeds, everything going on in the house, from talk about the targets this week, who's going home, to the episode last night, and what are Ian and Tyler's strategies going forward. So, we're going to bring you all of the latest. So if you're not wanting to catch any spoilers this week, then you'll need to go find another show because this show is all about spoilers. So Kiley, we had an episode last night. And real quick, sorry, I forgot to mention that if you have comments as we're going through the show, feel free to chime in, interact with us. We will gladly pop them up on the screen or talk about your takes on last night's episode and everything going on in the house. So, Kiley, we had an episode last night on a Tuesday.
Yeah, so a little bit out of the ordinary having a Tuesday episode. Threw life off a little bit. Like, you got to get into your routine. But anyway, so I think this was the best episode of the season last night. It was really, I think that Cody had a really good episode, just like personality wise, because a lot of times we don't get to see a lot of his personality. And I mean, like his reaction, I mean, skipping way forward, but his reaction to Dani telling him that Dade's going to use the veto, he's just like, oh my gosh, what? Mind blown.
Why would you do that?
I cannot believe this. But backing it up some, the episode starts off and we get David saying, hey, y'all thought you were going to get rid of me this week, but joke's on you because I'm going to play this I'm going to play this disruptor power. And so yeah, we get David playing his power, and when this voice comes on, they had talked about like, okay, this is a creepy voice, and it really was pretty creepy, like her little evil laugh and everything. And so I think that Dani and Nicole's reactions when they heard it was really funny, and I tried doing like a screen capture on my phone, but CBS blocks that, so you can't get it. But like both of them are like, what? Oh no. And seeing Dani's freak out of like, oh shit, who am I going to nominate? That was, really good because we obviously didn't get to see that on the feeds. So,
yeah.
What do you think about David's acting skills and being able to produce tears on the spot?
Well, I think that is great, but can we talk about the montage of him going around the house trying to convince everyone like that he didn't use the power? I mean, we talked about this. I think we talked about this yesterday, maybe the day before. But how CBS put this together, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, very good. So yeah, we do. We see him going to every single person, including Tyler. Like, and Tyler is like, why? No, I didn't save you, David. I'm on the block. Like, why would I not have used it on myself? And kind of the same thing with Day, where he's like, did you save me? And she's like, no, I would have saved myself last week. Like, no. And this is another good moment of Cody's where he's like, why are you doing this? Nobody believes you. Just own it.
It's so confusing.
It is so confusing. I mean, this was absolutely David's moment to show people that he's actually there playing the game. But he is so proud of his acting skills and is just, hey guys, I've sold this. My tears. I'm just so thankful. And I mean, Memphis 1000% is like, what the hell is he doing? And I mean, he even says it at the veto meeting. He's like, you should be excited. Like, why are you crying? You should be dancing on the table. And so, yeah, I don't want to give Memphis too much credit because I don't like him. But he's like, what? This makes no sense. So, interesting episode for pink-haired Aiden's boy, David. I don't know what to say. So let's talk about the veto comp. What did you think about this?
If we didn't have David, though, this season would just be total crap, to be honest. I mean, I as much as we shit on him and as much as his Twitter account shits on him, this season wouldn't be anything without David.
Right. I mean, he's kind of like comic relief a little bit. So, I
Like,
mean,
it's
maybe
just so dumb. It's so
yeah,
shocking.
I guess I am kind of glad to have him there because it's just, I mean, everybody is a little confused by David. But, we do get a comp that we have not seen before. So, what did you think about this basically large scale version of the game Operation?
I like this comp. I mean, I always like when they mix it up and do different comps. So
Hmm.
I was, which we had no idea, like when the veto was played, we were so confused why there was a tiny little veto,
Yeah.
and we were so confused by all this. But I liked this comp, and I especially liked it because they won.
Yeah.
But I think it's like you don't have to be super physical to do this comp. You don't have to
Yeah.
be super mental. Like this is just really a like steady hand type thing.
Yeah, let's just be happy that none of these people are physicians because whoa. And this is also another moment of Cody's that I really liked where he says, you know, paging Dr. Unsteady Hands, like come to the OR. I mean, these people had some problems. And I'm just impressed by how not frustrated most of them got. They'd knock them over and they'd calmly go about restacking them. But I would have been Enzo. Enzo was like, what the hell is this? And he had no coordination in this. So I would have been Enzo in this situation. But what I really loved, my favorite moment from the veto was Tyler being like, okay, I'm calming myself down, slow and steady, take a deep breath. And he blows his breath out and he knocks it all over. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So, yeah.
Just little stack, stack, stack. I would have stuck to that competition.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not
So,
good at operation, like
yeah, exactly.
for
And that's
real.
basically what this was, like Operation just with some big old tweezers. So, um, yeah,
Glad
our girl
Davon pulled it out.
Yeah, our girl Davon wins it. We do get the back and forth of Dani saying, like, hey, I just really don't want you to use this. I don't want to have to put another person up on the block. But Day decides, like, hey, this is my game and I'm going to make the best move for myself. And so we know that she uses it on Kevin. And there was all of the turmoil about who the replacement nominee was going to have to be and why Ian was the only option. And we get his BFF, Nicole. What do you think about Nicole in this episode?
Well, I think I don't know, like snaky Nicole, I just can't with her. I
Yeah.
cannot.
Yeah, so I think all of the tears that she's giving are not a result of her best friend Ian going on the block and possibly going out like she's trying to make it seem, but it's obviously a result of them cluing her in about being um, you know, going for him for being autistic, and this is why we're seeing this emotion from her.
Yeah. And like even on the feeds, and we'll talk about this when we get to the feeds, but she still is talking about how she's just so upset
Yeah.
over Ian being on the block and how she's just crying all the time. And she like not only is she crying all the time, oh she's not really crying all the time, like she does have these moments of breakdown sometimes in conversation. I
Yeah.
guess she's not sleeping well, but she talks more about crying all the time than she
Yeah.
probably is actually crying all the time.
Yeah.
I just
And I mean, like the little monologue that she gives where she's sitting outside and she's like, I'm so mad. Like, why does my friend and my ally have to go up on the block? It's not fair. I'm so pissed I could cry. Whatever. So, anyways, we get Ian up on the block. Ian is like, I think it's interesting that Dani calls me the ultimate pawn because this doesn't exactly feel like a pawn situation to me. I mean, saying that one of the only two winners in the house is the ultimate pawn, I mean, who are you trying to sell this to? Because about the only person that might buy this is David.
yeah. I'm glad that Ian is seeing right through this because he's not. I mean, he's not a pawn. He's the freaking target, and he knows it. And I'm
Yeah.
glad he's seeing it.
Yeah. So that pretty much wraps up the episode. Y'all all should have already known all of this if you've been watching our shows every day, because we've been telling you about this for a while. So let's move into the feeds. Has anything changed since yesterday? Let's find out.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about where the votes are. Christmas has, first thing yesterday morning, Christmas has an honest conversation with the cameras, and she said that she knows that Nicole will keep Ian if she can find a way. So Nicole is like saying to people that she's like, I know I have to vote, like she really is campaigning she doesn't want to vote for Ian. She does not want to give this vote to Ian. And there's even a point where she's trying to frame David as the reason, as like she's going to vote for Tyler to stay, but frame David as that vote.
Right.
And so yeah, there's a lot of conversation around Nicole's vote yesterday, and how that's going to weigh. Right now, how Nicole is spinning this is that she definitely is, telling people that she doesn't want to vote for Ian, and she's campaigning to certain people that she is going to vote, for Tyler to stay, which is interesting because nobody really believes her.
Right. So, yeah, and Christmas, when she's cam talking, she's just like, I don't think Nicole's that trustworthy. I kind of need to keep my eye on her, but I don't want to be the one to take a shot at her. Like, none of y'all want to take a shot at each other's, but eventually someone's going to have to do it. And, I thought it was going to be Dani. I thought Dani had the balls to do it, but, I think Dani is as confused about what she wants to do this week as everybody else is, because she'll have one conversation and she'll be like, are you sure we're making the right decision keeping Tyler? And then, 5 minutes later, she's talking about how Nicole better not give Ian a pity vote, because if she has to break the tie, she's going to be super pissed. So
I think the only person who's not confused this week is Memphis, because every time someone tries to have a conversation with Memphis about changing the vote to get rid of Tyler because of him being a good competitor and him being a good game player, and if he gets to the end and he still has Cody and da. And every time anyone tries to have a conversation like this with Memphis, he shoots that down. Like, he is like, nope, we got to get rid of Ian. Obviously, like, it feels like there's some kind of like personal move here, not just game, because I mean, he keeps making these claims like Ian isn't the same person he was, that the same guy that walked in this house. I mean, he talks about Ian almost as if he's possessed.
Yeah, he's able to look me in the eye now. And I mean, once again, guys, this is going to go back to one thing that is common with people that are autistic, is that they do sometimes have trouble making eye contact. So I am sure that Ian, if he focuses on it, is able to make eye contact with you and have, a conversation where he's looking you in the eyes. But what is probably most comfortable for Ian is to not do that. So once again, this is Memphis just looking like a complete tool bag, because he's harping on something that Ian can't really control.
Yeah, and it really has nothing to do with the game. Like, his reasonings hardly ever have to do with the game, because if it had to do with the game, there would be this open ear about Tyler, because Tyler is also, I would say Tyler and Ian are even. Like, I think they're even. A lot of people in the house think that they're even, which is why they're struggling so much with who to send home this week. Yeah. So Dani and Nicole are really campaigning for, they're slyly campaigning. Like, if the house flips to vote out Tyler, they'll be relieved, is what it seems like.
Yeah.
Reality Rob says Tyler's in the committee and Ian isn't, and that is a huge piece of it. I think it's Memphis and Cody that have a conversation about, like, why would they want to vote out someone that is in our alliance? Like, that's showing their true colors, referencing Dani and Nicole.
Yeah. And I mean, from Memphis and Cody's standpoint, absolutely, they should not vote out Tyler. Tyler is good with them, and Tyler is a bigger target than both of them. So it makes no sense for them to vote him out. we kind of thought that Cody might be able to be swayed if Dani and Nicole were both really pushing on it to be Tyler. But, we do see a conversation yesterday where Cody's like, absolutely not. We are not voting out Tyler. That makes no sense. So he pretty much shuts it down.
Yeah. And so it's going back and forth. Still, as of last night, like as of this morning on the feeds, it still seems like they're working hard to get the votes to go after Ian. And even Davon, like obviously she wants to get Tyler out. That minority group wants to get Tyler out, except for freaking David, just because I don't know what's going on with him ever. But Davon wants to get Tyler out. I said Taylor. Huh. Anyways, she wants to get Tyler out, and Kevin does too, because they know that he's a part of this majority alliance. So they know that getting him out would weaken that alliance, and that's their main goal. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But right now, still that main alliance is wanting Memphis is the head of that alliance.
Yeah.
So they're he wants Ian out. So to be honest, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, so I've been catching up on all the comments in the chat. So, Fash Out, you got some hot takes over here, so we're just going to go ahead and pop them up. So we'll look at this last comment. Ian said he doesn't want his autism to define him, and that's all the audience does. I disagree with this. I don't think that the audience is defining Ian by his autism. No one's treating him like a cripple, but respecting people for their differences is not, defining him by being autistic. They're just being good people.
Right. Like, he isn't being voted out because he's autistic, except for maybe by Memphis, which is why we said he's a toolback. Like, Memphis is making jabs at him that are personal about his autism. That has nothing to do with the game.
Right.
Memphis seems to have a problem with Ian personally. It bothers him with the hammock. He's just driving him effing nuts. So that's literally quotes from Memphis about Ian and his stems. So, yeah, like, that is personal. But the rest of the house, I don't feel is taking Ian's autism into consideration at all.
No. Yeah, and I mean, Memphis, we were going to also bring this up. We get another wonderful comment from Memphis yesterday where he's talking about accents in different places, and he talks about accents in New Orleans, and he uses the term coon ass. Like, Memphis just every single week does something offensive. I mean,
the most politically incorrect person in this house is definitely Memphis. He just needs to be a little more cultured, I guess. Like, I don't.
He's
I don't
a
know
jackass.
what it is.
Let's just call him what he is. So
spade a spade.
Yeah, let's call him out.
Yeah. So unfortunately for our viewing, Memphis is leading the charge on this. From a game perspective, Memphis is leading the charge on this vote, and he wants Ian gone. So that's what the committee is going to do at this point.
Memphis and Christmas are 100% dedicated to the committee. They are not going to turn on any of the people in that 6-person alliance until they absolutely have to. So,
yeah, and they're bringing in Enzo, so he's also tight. He's becoming tight with them, and so he's also going to vote how they want to vote. That's 3 people right there. The only chance that Ian has is if Nicole flips and maybe is able to flip Cody. That's super unlikely.
Yeah, especially
he'll need 5 votes.
Right, especially when we're seeing David is out here campaigning to Christmas. Like, we should flip the vote and we should vote out Ian. Like, he's really making this great game move. And meanwhile, Christmas is like, yeah, I'm obviously going to vote out Ian. So this is not anything new to me.
Yeah. So that can take us to our next topic of Nicole, Snake Cole being snaky. So Christmas is having a conversation with Memphis, and she feels as though Nicole is legitimately trying to save Ian, which Nicole's in the committee, so that like has them shook. And Memphis is like, no, she's not. That's not happening. And he says to Christmas, she's not doing that. She's not really trying to save him. This is all just a front. This is all just a front so she can stay in Ian's good graces. And so I just want to talk about that with y'all for a little bit. Like, what do y'all think? Do y'all think that Nicole is this conniving to where and we know her as a snake. She's known as Rat Cole. Like, she's known for this really snaky, sneaky game. Yeah. Do y'all think that Nicole can put on a front and to save Ian just as to save her hide, or do you think that she truly wants Ian to stay?
So, I mean, I think we've both made it pretty clear that, I mean, it would probably be best for her game personally for Ian to stay because she is in an alliance with him and she claims to be such a good friend to him. But, you know, I think it's best for her game for Ian to stay. And one of Ian's campaign points is basically like, anybody that goes against me, I am not going to vote for. And he's campaigning hardcore on his jury vote. Like, and he's telling people, if Tyler's there in the final two, I'm voting for him no matter what. So, you know, he's trying to give people all of these reasons to keep him because he's basically telling them, I'm going to be a better juror. And I don't know whether or not that's actually true, or if when it gets down to it, he will vote for who he thinks is best, or if he's going to stay on this trajectory of, if you wronged me and were part of the reason why I'm out of the house, then I'm not voting for you. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Nicole does have conversations with Cody and Enzo about saying that she understands Tyler needs to go, but this is hard for her. And this conversation seems pretty genuine, that this is hard for her. And she mentions thinking that Tyler would put her up, which is not false. Tyler later has a conversation, I can't remember with who, maybe Cody. And he's like, yeah, like, my targets are definitely Nicole, Dani. He's like, I would put up Dani and Day with Nicole as a backdoor. Those are his targets right now. So she isn't wrong. She isn't wrong about this. Her feelings are definitely right. She's not really talking to the right people about this thought, but this is also one of those conversations where she says that she's cried all night over this. So it's like, she really does talk more about crying than she's actually crying. I don't know if she's sad necessarily to lose Ian as much as she is sad to lose someone that's in her corner. And not that it's necessarily Ian, just someone in her corner.
Right. Yeah. For sure. I agree there.
Lots of comments are saying that the comments are blowing up. Y'all, the comments are blowing up. The comments, originally, these are some long comments right now. That Nicole is doing this for TV. Nicole is doing this for show. So, I mean, that seems to be the stance right now. People who aren't watching this live, let us know what you think in the comments below the video. Is Nicole doing this all for show? Because it's hard to tell. Like, we don't get the DRs. So...
I mean, I think in the big scheme of things, do I think Nicole Franzel is like this horrible, terrible person, like super vindictive, just out to destroy people? No, probably not. But as we've talked about many times, the game has real life consequences, and she is going to be facing real life consequences when she gets out. And it looks especially bad on her because she does put on this front of, oh my gosh, I'm so upset that Ian's going home. And of course, CBS gives her that great edit last night. Like, if you only watch the show and you don't watch live feeds, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, Nicole is so upset about her friend Ian. You know, they don't show any of them mocking Ian. They don't show any of that side of it. They're just showing Nicole being upset. So I don't know, guys. Like,
yeah, in this same conversation though, she talks to Cody and Enzo about the need for a 5-3 vote, and so she starts like counting the votes, like who's where. And this is the conversation where she's talking about framing David for the Ian vote. So she's saying, okay, I will vote to evict Ian, but I'm not going to say it was me. I'm going to say it was David.
Yeah.
And that is just, I feel like that's so telling. Like, she's still going to
Yeah.
vote him out. Like, I feel like that's really telling of her character, and she's going to frame David for it. Obviously, not knowing that David's butt's going to vote for freaking Tyler, like, vote for
Yeah.
him to stay anyway. But
Yeah, like there's a chance it's going to be an 8-0 vote and no one's going to vote for Ian. And then Nicole's really going to be screwed. Like, he's going to be super pissed. So,
yeah, so that, I mean, if this happens, that's what I hope happens. I hope if Ian's going to go, I hope that David votes for Tyler to stay and Nicole votes for Tyler to stay, and her plan totally fails. So
right.
it is hard to know if she's being genuine or not. I mean, if this is the game she's playing, it's the game she's playing. She's playing the damn game, okay?
Right. She does do that.
But again, in this same conversation, she then says, Nicole questioned if they'll ever get Tyler in the same position. And she's like, should we just vote him out?
Yeah.
Like, should we just do it, guys? And Cody's like, but this might be also the same thing about Ian. Like, it might be the only time we can get him on the block. And anyway, she's like, she said she wants to just feel like a decent human being and keep Ian. So, and then she talks more about her crying.
Yeah. I really like this comment from Dawn. Like, this is exactly what I think. I would love to see two options. One, an 8-0 vote, or the second option is that it's 4-4 and Dani has to break the tie. I agree. Like, I want it to be sloppy. And if it's 8-0 and Nicole is like, oh crap, like I've really screwed up this relationship with Ian, like he's not going to vote for me. Or if Dani has to break the tie. Because, I mean, I'm not going to put it past Dani, like at the last second where she's just like, oh, you know what? Bye, Tyler. Like, I think that would be so entertaining.
And that would be the best move for her. That would truly be the best move for her because we know Tyler's targeting Dani, Nicole, and Day. So it would really be the best move for her. Now, it would also really define those moments. Like, no longer does the committee exist at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they've got so much untrust anyways, but that would definitely split them. So,
yeah. That would just put the nail in that coffin. Speaking of the untrust, Nicole, Christmas. So there's the girls' alliance, right? Like Nicole, Christmas, Day, and Dani. Those four are an alliance. Well, Christmas, Dani, and Nicole are having a conversation. These three are having a conversation and they are talking about Christmas is like, why do I always feel weird when Day's in here? Like, why do I always feel like I can't have like open conversations about things when Day's in here? And Nicole is like, I think it's Nicole, one of whoever responds and is like, well, it's because she doesn't trust us. And I'm like, no, duh, she doesn't trust y'all. Like, she has no reason to trust y'all at this point. Like, she has every right to not trust y'all.
And the reason why she doesn't trust you is because they're having this conversation literally 3 minutes after they meet with Day and are talking about how the girls have to stick together. And then as soon as she leaves, y'all are talking about her. So,
Day was a part of this conversation. She walks out of the room and instantly Christmas is like, I don't know why she doesn't trust us.
Yeah, I don't trust her.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder why.
Yeah, and they go on to talk about Kevin is their next target.
Yeah.
Boring. Like, y'all.
Yeah.
Christmas. The committee can't win next week. I think we had a comment about.
Yeah, it was way up there.
Way up there. Y'all are blowing this chat up.
The only interesting thing to happen is if Day, David, or Kevin wins HOH. Yeah. And that's absolutely true. One of those three have to win. If any of the others win, then it's
boring.
Two of those are going up. The other one will be a replacement nominee.
Yeah.
Just guaranteed. So.
Yeah. And there are also some comments in here about Russell's here talking about Christmas.
Jeez.
Don't get us started, Russell. We also talk about the committee being, huge alliance, and they are finally having some conversations about adding Enzo to the committee, like officially. So
Yeah.
Christmas and Memphis are having some conversations. And she says that Enzo would be a great third for them to work with, meaning them two, but adding him, obviously to this larger alliance he would be a part of. And that just goes to add to Memphis's stock value that he really is playing a really great game.
Yeah.
Everyone in the house trusts Enzo. His name is not coming out of anybody's mouth.
Right. Nobody's targeting Enzo. And one interesting thing that Memphis does yesterday is he goes to Enzo and he's like, hey, I want to make two final threes with you. You, me, and one person, and then you, me, and another person. And we'll call both of the alliances the same name so that we don't get confused, but it'll have two different people. And he's like, but let's not do it just yet. Let's wait a couple weeks. But I mean, this is kind of an interesting idea. I don't think we've ever seen the strategy of let's have an alliance with separate people and call it the same thing so we don't F it up. I kind of like this thinking by Memphis.
Yeah, I know. Like, Memphis personally sucks, but from a game perspective, he is playing a good game. And I know, do you see this comment over here that says,
yes. Okay, y'all.
Stop.
If
I could just erase the word shaft from anything ever.
I still can't get over it. If y'all did not watch our cast assessment for the challenge, this girl right here.
We 10 out of 10 recommend to check it out.
Yeah, this girl right here had a very, very unfortunate autocorrect happen to her. So, yeah, y'all just need to go check it out. It's down in the feed a little bit. So just go look for it yourself.
But that's not the comment I was talking about. I was talking about Ed's comment. Crap, where is it? Ed, I'm trying to pop you up on the screen. Oh, he says Russell's getting his stocking stuffed. I'm done with y'all supporting Russell and Christmas's relationship.
That's hilarious. Oh, gosh.
Oh, all right. Well, let's just move into fears of Tyler coming in hot.
Yeah.
So Dani and Nicole are really turning up the heat on their fears for Tyler. So yesterday we talked about Dani having these conversations, how she's scared of Tyler. Tyler doesn't trust him. She felt like she put him up because truly he was her target. And then Ian got put up. And then she goes and has a conversation with Tyler and she's like, you were never my target.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the feed yesterday, last night, Dani is telling Nicole that Memphis talked about not having seen this side of Ian until now, and that he suggested going with what they know in Tyler. So, she is telling now Nicole about the conversation she had with Memphis about he's not having it. Ian has got to go this week. And Nicole's like, I'm not pushing anything with Memphis. She knows it'll come off biased, which is true. Memphis doesn't trust Nicole. But anyways, Dani said that she tried to say everything bad about Tyler that she could to Memphis, wasn't working. And she let Nicole know that Memphis wants Tyler gone out first, out of those in the committee. So Dani is, definitely wants Tyler gone. That is her original plan. It was her original plan until this veto got used, that she wanted him gone. Now, I don't know if he still would have gone if Kevin was on the block. I still think Kevin would have gone. We'd be in the same situation that whoever's next to Tyler because of the committee would be gone this week.
Yeah. So
fears are there. But then, of course, Dani has a conversation with Tyler. And Dani asked Tyler who he would nominate if he wins HOH next week. And this is a good little combo. And Tyler's like, there's 3 options. My targets are Davon, David, and Kevin. And those are not his 3 options. His 3 options are Davon, yes, Dani, and Nicole.
Yeah.
But he tells her David and Kevin.
He tells her exactly what she needs to hear. And she's like, well, who would you put up for a 4th person? And he's like, oh, well, it would definitely have to be a pawn. And so Tyler says the right things to Dani, even if they're not the true things. But
Yes.
tells Dani what she needs to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so in this conversation, Tyler asked Dani, if there's a tie, are you going to keep me? And Dani's like, absolutely, I will keep you, but it better not be a tie. Like, Dani does not want this tie, y'all, because if it does, it's going to show her true cards, and she is not wanting that to happen at all.
Yeah.
So after that conversation, last week's wall yeller that I didn't know happened until Kylie caught me up. So now I know about this wall yeller, and a conversation happens about the wall yeller. So wall yeller number 27, because there's been so freaking many, we've lost count.
Yeah.
So Tyler and Christmas have a conversation about the wall yeller.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go? You want me to go? I'll go. Okay. All right. So Tyler let Christmas know that when the wall yeller talked about the final two in a power, that he says Kevin claimed to hear Tyler in this wall yeller.
Yeah.
Okay. And Tyler's like, they may not have yelled that the two of them have a final two and that Christmas has a power. But Tyler said he's worried that they will no longer be able to put in a good word for each other due to this wall yeller.
Yeah.
And he brought up that Dani's asking about who he would put up, and that he's just very suspect. And Tyler says that he would not put her up. Christmas said it's in Tyler's best interest not to put Dani up, and Tyler agrees in this conversation with Christmas, which again, we think he's just saving face at this point because Christmas does have conversations with Dani. I think he knows that Christmas and Dani and Nicole are close. Yeah. So I don't think that Tyler would tell Dani or Nicole at this point.
I think that this is where Tyler's gameplay is so exceptional, because anything that could possibly be a problem for Tyler, he tries to make sure that he goes and puts it out. Like, hey, this has happened. And he's always the first one to clue in the person. Like, you might hear this, or this person might be thinking this, just so you know. And so I think that's what Tyler always stays ahead of things. And I think that's why he's so good.
Yeah, he is definitely good. It's almost as if he knows who is having conversations with who about what, because he definitely says the right things to the right people.
Yeah.
But this wall yeller really has them tricked up. And we have a comment over here, like they can't put some guards around the wall. Didn't they do that?
Yeah, we talked about this, like where I think it was TMZ did an article saying that they've got LAPD like patrolling more around the Big Brother wall, and they've hired a private security firm, but they are still getting wall yellers. So, that just really makes you think that production likes to have a wall yeller because it's not that big. Like, put someone at all four corners at all times of the day, and the wall yellers go away. There's no problem anymore.
Am I the only one who, whenever they say wall yeller or like the feed's cut because of a wall yeller, I think of that TikTok that's like, what's your name? Tony. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. And he's like, what's your name? Ezekiel. And then Tony's like, fuck you, Ezekiel. So funny. I'll post it on Instagram. Anyways, that's what I think of every time I think of a wall yeller. So anyway, back to the feeds. All right. So after this, we have a conversation between Cody and Enzo. That I feel like this conversation really is like a tell-all. So this conversation enlightens. This conversation captures everything that's really happening in the house. Like, we could have just had this conversation and our show been over today, I guess.
Right. And so we get Cody telling Enzo, like, I don't like what Dani and Nicole are trying to do here. And I don't like that they're going to act surprised when Tyler stays. Like, this is going to come back on you and me. And just really like, okay, I don't trust these people.
Yeah, like them doing that and the problem is, y'all, they're telling, like, Nicole and Dani are like telling people that this is what they're gonna do. Right. And I'm like, that's kind of dumb.
Y'all have to be okay with it, but
like we're gonna act surprised.
Because we're supposed to be close with Ian. this has to come back on y'all.
Right,
So
like, sorry. Which
you
isn't
just
a
have
good
to be
thing
okay with
move.
it. Yeah.
So, and it's just, I don't know. I don't know what Nicole and Dani are thinking telling people about this. Like, they could just
Yeah.
do it and not tell people. That'd be great.
Right. I mean, that would make them be skeptical of them too. So, I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose situation, but that's what they're going to do. And we get Enzo talking and he's like, yo, like, I don't trust the girls, yo. I think that we can trust Memphis more. So, shocker. Enzo wants to bro down even more and get the girls out and bring Memphis in. So we're like
Yeah.
seeing a blooming bromance between Memphis and Enzo. And once again, this comes back to Enzo's playing a heck of a game. And
Yeah.
so,
He is. He has a good read. But in this same conversation, he says that he really quickly is like, but maybe we should get rid of Tyler.
yeah,
Which is like so against anything Memphis wants to do. But he's having this conversation with Cody and he's like, maybe we should get rid of Tyler. And then, but Cody like brings him back and is like, if we do that, like, he's trying not to tell him about this alliance, but he's like, I don't think that's a good idea because it would be tougher to keep you off the block if we do that.
yeah,
So I don't think that's a good idea. And
yeah,
then he's just like, okay, well, back to I don't trust Avon.
yeah,
And he thinks he's having this conversation with Cody, and he says, I think that if Avon wins, she's going to put up you and Tyler pretty much.
yeah,
So Cody and Enzo agree that if they win HOH, that Davon and Kevin are going to go up, which is so predictable, y'all.
yeah. Just what we already know. We talked about it a little bit already that we've got David talking with Christmas and he's trying to play the game, but he's like playing a whole different game than what everybody else is playing. He's still just out in left field picking wildflowers. So
Yeah, but we do see him have a conversation with Christmas, and maybe before we get there,
start
Aaron,
David and Christmas.
before we get there, Aaron says this is the first week this season a woman hasn't been on the block yet. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It is the first time.
Yeah.
It is. It's many firsts have happened this week in Big Brother history so far.
Yeah. And
this year.
spot on, Fash Out. Like this is the truth. Enzo is a high school bro in a midlife body. Absolutely.
That is the best way to describe him. All right.
But he's very entertaining for television.
He is, yo. The star of David and Christmas. That's what I'm going to call this alliance or this conversation. Anyway, so David has a conversation with Christmas, and he tells her about his talk with Dani. And he says, in hindsight, he's going to say that he was never the target. That's what Dani is planning to say. And David said he doesn't care to go the way that Dani wants him to this week since he put him up and he was going to be a victim of her gameplay. So David talks to Christmas about Ian throwing her name out there, and that's why this is like he's wanting to target Ian, is because he doesn't trust Dani and he doesn't trust them, and they're wanting him to keep Ian and all this stuff, and he's like, I don't trust her. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna pop this comment from Brett Larkin up. If Russell is still in the chat, he is gonna be real mad at you because he says this is the first woman HOH, and I was thinking, no, it's not, because Christmas won the first one, and then he quickly responds with, because Christmas ain't a girl.
Oh gosh.
Don't throw shade onto Russell's woman, okay?
Yeah. Russell, where are you at, Russell? We're just waiting on you to comment here.
Yeah.
Brett says, bring me the wrath of Russell.
He's not going to be happy with you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just like looking over here at the comments. So many good comments today, y'all.
Yeah, y'all are cracking me up.
Guess we can move into the tweet of the day.
Yeah.
Tweet. So our tweet today comes from
another random person, but sometimes you just got to recognize it when somebody is bringing it. And so this tweet here is from at Brian underscore Scally.
Yep.
Scully. Sorry,
Scally.
Brian. Don't know how to say your name. And it is this clip from Nicole yesterday of Nicole to her sponsors. And that is the tweet, y'all.
That's where her sponsors went.
Yep, just poof. Where'd they go?
Bye. All right. Any other comments before we wrap up today's show and move on to tomorrow? Ed says, I heard Nicole lost a bunch of sponsors. Yes, she lost most of them just because of her actions of the things with Ian and kind of how she's acting on a personal level in the house. So yeah, she has sponsors are popping up, dropping from her left and right.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? Y'all got anything else?
Y'all were blowing up earlier, so I'm like trying to go back. And Alexis says, what are the powers? The power, so that we had David's power of
The disruptor.
The disruptor, which meant he could take a nominee down, and that would result in changing the noms.
Christmas has the blocker power where she can block a re-nominee. And then Dani's power, I don't remember what it's called, but it's where she gets to, someone can replay in the HOH. So both of these powers are only good for one more week after this one. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Dani decides to use her power because she's not in the best position. But then it'll also be like, what will people think if she does play in it again? Are they going to think that she doesn't trust them, or should she just let it go to waste? What do you think?
I don't know. Like, so for me personally, I'm like, as a fan of the show, I'm like, use the powers, like use all the powers. Let's just use them all up. But I mean, okay, Dani's definitely going to use her power, right? Like, she's definitely going to use her power so she can play in the HOH this upcoming week, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. And then Christmas walking a renom. I mean, I guess it depends on who wins HOH and who the noms are.
Yeah, and if the veto even gets used. But that could be interesting next week, depending on how things shake out.
Dawn says Dani will waste it. That would be so depressing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what she should do because it might be best to just let it go to waste. I mean, from her personal standpoint, she should.
Aaron, totally agree. It's not a normal day in this world. If David doesn't do or say something stupid, the universe will not be balanced otherwise. Yeah, agree. Like, we really just need him at this point. And if y'all don't follow David's Twitter account, literally the person running that account is the best thing to happen to the Twitterverse since BB started. So go follow David Alexander on Twitter.
Yeah. Brett says Christmas should have blocked Dani from putting Tyler up. She can only use it at the veto ceremony, so she couldn't have stopped it there.
Yeah. Dash Out says coup d'etat or bust. BB isn't trying to show us those kind of powers this season, sadly.
Yeah. I thought David's acting was a good idea until I realized no one believed him. Yeah. Oh, boy. His acting was really terrible. Not one person believed him.
Yeah, that's kind of sad, but it was so good. Like, that montage was fire.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Let's see. trying to find some of those questions we had earlier.
Dragon monkey. They should make a new power and call it the shaft power.
I
And
swear, if
it
y'all
has the potential to screw you over.
get out of here, y'all get out of here with y'all shaft comments. Like freaking autocorrect. This is never not gonna haunt me when autocorrect ducks you over on live, and like there was nothing I could do at that point. I already said it, but y'all, it killed me. Kylie was like reading. So we're like going through the cast review, right? And Kylie's like, and next we have Fessy. I think you spelled you're missing a few letters from his name. Oh God, y'all just go watch it. It's a whole ass mess.
Okay, let's see what else.
Jesse says that the wall yeller is production.
Yeah. I mean, quite possibly.
It's Allison herself.
Yeah, she's like, oh gosh, this season sucks. I better do something. Some people think OV is running David's Twitter. Whoever is running it, they're doing it justice because it's so funny.
Peyton says, I thought Dave believed David. I think it was just her acting skills.
Yeah,
but there's no way.
Dave's got real acting skills.
There's no way she believed him because she would have, if she had the power, she would have used it on herself.
Yeah.
Like process of elimination cuts that one out.
Yeah. So.
All right. Rebel says never gonna live it down. I know. Like never. Shaft is gonna forever haunt me. I don't even know how we're gonna go into talking about MTV The Challenge whenever the show is on because
well, I mean his
the whole
name
Shaft
is just forever going to be Fessy Shaft. That's just it. That's his new name. So
yes, Aaron, whoever's running David's Twitter definitely needs to be on BB next year. Like, what do we got to do to make that happen?
Yeah, and if it is OV, they should have given him the second chance. I mean, OV got screwed over pretty much just as badly as David did, and OV's a super fan, so it would have been more interesting to have him.
For sure.
You know, like
but David's been great entertainment. Like,
yeah, he's bringing a little bit of comic relief. So,
Dragon said, "You better hope Fessy's the first boot." I hope he is just. I don't ever have to talk about. We got to stop reading these comments. All right, okay, y'all. That is the end of our show today. We are almost at an hour. That's a long show. So thanks everyone for your awesome comments throughout our commentary today. Y'all had a lot to say on today's episode. So thanks again. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up. Cajun Reseller, you're not in our comments today to remind everyone, but thumbs up, subscribe, and comment on the video. We had, what was her name yesterday? Teresa, Tammy, Terry, I can't remember her name. It was a purple tea. It's Tanya. Tanya called me yesterday. She said, I just now realized that I was not watching live, and she's like making comments as she goes through. We don't care if you do that, girl. Just do it. Like, just say whatever you want. It doesn't matter. That's okay.
Let us know all your comments. We'll respond to you. Hit us with your hot takes. You don't agree with us. That's fine. Just let us know what you think.
Yeah, perfectly okay. We love the trolls. Like, we should really have shirts that say "We Heart Trolls" because we respond to all of you. Even if you have nothing nice to say, we don't care.
Yeah.
Anyways, but not that we're encouraging you to say anything nice to us, but please say nice things. We love y'all. Thanks for watching. Check us out tomorrow at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time for spilling some more tea on everything before the eviction episode. So cheers to that. Bye, y'all.
Bye.